guess that is in this jar? Okay, simple question. You could look at the jar, you could analyze how much money, how many donations in the jar, and we made it a challenge, like we do, by the way, at the Berkeley Lab. And we said that anyone who guesses how much money is in that jar, we Give Together would contribute 3 times more to any charity of their choice. Okay, we're going to do this live experiment with you now, only a little bit different.
Shekels.
Remember, shekels, right. Remember, okay, each guy that we asked outside, and I've got the answers right here, answer the guess separately. And what we're doing right now is we're going to ask you to provide that guess, the first one to make the guess, and then the second one to make the guess after you've heard what the first guy thought. And we're going to see how that's going to change the experiment, okay? That's never been done before on this stage. I'm happy. So you got the mic on, okay? Okay, so let's go for the first one. Anyone wants to volunteer? Remember, 3 times the donations.
700.
Yeah, go ahead.
700.
700 shekels. Okay. Second guy. Just look at the jar, it needs to be accurate because the guy who guesses the accurate number gets 3 times to his favorite charity.
240.
240. Yes.
157.
Come again?
157.
257. Or are you taking 257? 157, okay. Yes.
325.
325. Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Of course,
sure.
of course.
And how many people do we have already?
Are you counting coins?
No.
It's a different time.
I say about 250.
250? 250 shekels. Can you all hear what the previous guy said? And do you feel that it's impacting your decision-making process?
52.
Yeah, you, the lady in the back. No. Sir? Oh, okay. You choose, doesn't matter. Yeah. We are running out of time, so we need 5 more people real quickly.
1,000.
550, and then you gotta look at the jar. You gotta actually look at it.
400.
400 and
47.
come again?
47.
47.
I
So
think
you look at the jar. Are you absolutely sure? Okay. Go ahead. How many do we have left?
52 seconds.
Hold on. How many more? That's 10. We got 10. Do we have 10? Okay, great. We're going to share the results of the experiment with you right after this panel is over, because I need to get the results from Deborah and share with you what are the meanings of this experiment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to invite Lior, Emma, Paz, John, and Arnaud to come up to the podium, to the stage, and I've got a couple of questions for you, but first let me just thank all 5 of you for an interesting presentation. You've certainly given us a lot to think about. This is an area that is obviously up and coming and of significant interest to our system, and obviously we've had a very nice turnout here, and I want to thank all of you for being here as well. I'm going to ask a couple of questions, or a few questions, and if we have time, I'm going to open it up for a couple questions from the floor. I want to tell you what the ground rules are on the questions. You've all been very careful to keep to the time allotted to you by our czar, Deborah Silverman. And the questions will be no longer than 1 minute. That's a limitation on me or the other questioners. And your responses should be no longer than 2 minutes. All right? So let's start with John. As you know, in Jewish Federation concerns, annual campaign is what it's all about. We're looking for fundraising. And when it comes to face-to-face solicitations, we know how to do that. We're probably going to continue doing that with our largest donors. But this idea of using crowdfunding and other mechanisms you've talked about in the Federation world is something that we're really interested in, and we'd like to get some quick guidance from you as to the things that our local federations should be thinking about and trying to do when we go back home with your advice.
Well, a couple of things. Number one is you now have this ability to earmark like never before. And I know that earmarking is always a tough issue because you need money for the general campaign and you need to be able to make the decisions, budgetarily without having everything already, pre-allocated. However, today, in this kind of a methodology, people want to connect to a project. They want to invest in a specific, interesting item. And here, what you do is you curate that, in my opinion. In other words, there should be some process whereby social entrepreneurs and Jewish organizations can get up on the site. The Federation, in my opinion, one model would be to create a whole series of these independent projects, and maybe they're scheduled over the course of the year, and that they then start receiving crowdfunding. It's an easy way to add on. And you're not taking away from the existing campaign. It's not like you're giving money to the crowdfunding element, well, instead of giving it to your normal pledge. But I think it's just additive. And the key issue here is building your lists, both in terms of whether it's Facebook likes or visits to your website. The reality for most Jewish organizations is that we do digital pathetically, okay? In other words, I've asked organizations how many people are on their mailing list. And it's an embarrassment. I mean, and the thing which I like to point out, and I'll just finish with this, is that anybody in Hollywood who would go ahead and produce a movie and yet not retain 50% of the overall budget for distribution would lose their job. And yet, in our community, we produce content. We build a website. We build a project. And the amount of money used to actually distribute is usually 1%, 5%. 10% would be considered a lot. And so I think we have to change the way we're thinking and making sure that it's not about the new cool idea, or it's not about the new cool project, cool website. It's about how do I go from my 500 on my list to 5,000 or to 50,000. And that's a whole different story.
Thank you. All right, Paz, you talked about crowd doing and crowd doing strategies. What can you tell us about the etiquette of how you deal with people, individually and as a group, in crowd doing?
I think the most important thing is to keep in touch with the people that are already engaged to your cause. So you can actually use the digital tools today to continue this contacts with the people, with the crowd, when you have common topics that you're interested in. I'll give an example. When I talked about these Florentine neighbor trees that were uprooted, actually, this guy could use a CRM system, very simple CRM system, and send emails to the people that were participating in this cause. I did donate in Give Together twice, and I must admit that this organization keep in touch with me and actually engage me into the process. So the point is that you should use the digital tools. Don't be afraid from digital tools. There are many professionals that can help you with that, and you can really leverage the impact of the crowd by using technology.
Thank you. Emma, Federation donors often don't know all that much about the things that federations are doing. They give money because they know it's good to give to the collective, and they have faith in the process that we use in our federations to allocate money to beneficiary agencies. Sometimes they care more deeply about certain issues, but broadly they don't know a whole lot about what we're doing. Your experience in getting people to invest in your book before you wrote it, before they knew what was coming out, how do you think we could use that idea in the Federation system to encourage our donors to give even more money on that basic belief that what is going to come at the end is going to be worthwhile?
The one word answer for that would be emotion. As John said and Paz said, and what I've experienced, the first thing that you're selling is emotion, is the connection to something that you really want to give. And there are methods of doing this. And today on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, other crowdfunding platform, they've developed actually a mechanism where how do you portray what your dream is? And there's several examples. One is Nancy Duarte speaking about it on TED, how to portray your dream. But the first most important thing, that you will connect to somebody that you really want to invest in. And this is exactly what John said about the Jewish Federation. People want to connect to a specific project. And Paz was saying, I wanted to connect to a specific project. And once people connect to the emotion, then they can see what the person has done behind it. And I think this is the best way of doing this.
Lior, you talked about using technology to empower groups of people to do something, this whole idea of crowd doing as well. In the Federation system, we're looking to do more than just raise money. We're looking to build community. So what methodologies can we use locally in our federations to build community through the kind of approaches that you're using in your work?
2 minutes.
Actually, 2 minutes minus 2 seconds.
So I'm writing a book about it. It's very challenging. I would say you need to manage the relationship in that community. Make sure you give value to the community, and when you challenge them to think with you, show them the results of their collective thinking and collective knowledge. So this is something, if you see Wikipedia, this is what they do. They inspire people to give to the community and create knowledge. This is why Waze has succeeded, because they have a community of people who update information. So if you have a community, make sure that you go back to them, manage that relationship, give value to them, and encourage them to think together and go back to them and say, hey, see what you did together, this is amazing, let's go to the next step.
But it's a constant reinforcement.
It's like being married. It's building a relationship, it's not a campaign.
Okay.
So if you're married, you know it's not that you got flowers and you can rest now for a year. It's the same for the Jewish Federation, I think.
All right, Arnon, one of the things you talked about was the fact that from time to time when you were dealing with some potential funders, you had to tell people, we're going to turn down money. There's an opportunity, there may be circumstances we're going to have to turn down money. In the federation system, when we're going to try to use these mechanisms to raise money, is there going to be some limitation, or should there be some limitation, or some categories of donations that we shouldn't be accepting?
Yeah, that's a great question. Part of the things that make crowdfunding something you can orchestrate and you can improve and make it intelligent is that by limiting donations from below and from above, which may be counterintuitive, like David said, saying no to money, would inherently increase the amount that you end up raising. Because crowdfunding is about a crowd of people who do not sit in the same room, but still have some information exchange over the web. So every single guy that makes a decision is impacted by a collaborative notion of input that has happened before. So the answer to your question, in short, do you say no to money? Sometimes, yes. And I'll give you the reason why. If, for instance, I'm sitting in a room with the guys from Waze, right? And the guys from Wix, who are good friends. And it's a charity dinner, right? And we're all asked to give money. And I know that the guys from Waze are gonna, cut a check of, I don't know, 100,000 or 200,000. My fakakta $200 won't matter in this dinner. So guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna save it, free ride the guys from Waze, and give my $200 to the next cause. So in orchestrating and delegating and basically designing crowdfunding campaigns, there's a lot of importance that goes to what parameters do you expose to the crowd? What's the lowest donation, for example, that you're allowing? Do you accept donations? Howard Dean said every dollar counts, right? It's deadly wrong, by the way. It's deadly wrong, because this is what happens with Facebook causes. Everything, was likes and cents, and it went bust. So it matters how you design a campaign, how you carve donations from below, which may be counterintuitive, and definitely from above as well.
Thank you, and thank you all again. Before we break, and we're going to meet our 12:15 deadline, let's get the results of
Devora has the results. Okay, so the number that you guys have come up with, which is one interesting element, is 332 shekels. Okay, 10 people listening to one another and making their announcement, versus the guys outside the room just making independent decisions. And the one thing I want you to take home with, okay, by the way, in the jar, I encourage you to count, there are 299 shekels, okay, and the results outside were 229 shekels. So you guys are closer to the average, and that's, like Lior knows, and you know now, it's the wisdom of the crowd, but also the way we design the experiment with you. So you have more information, you make a concise decision on what's in the jar. And I encourage you to make a similar decision when you design your next crowdfunding campaigns. And by the way, and that's a little bit of advertising, we're holding fundraising expert sessions with our group, so you're more than welcome to swing by later on this afternoon.
I want to thank all of our speakers for being with us, and I want to thank you all for being part of this program today. And you're invited. You don't have time to ask questions on the floor, but as they're going out, please grab them and spend some time. And thank you again. Have a wonderful day.